Hi everyone, Emily here from Emily's Excellent Epics. I almost said Emily Reads. I'm still getting used to my name change. So I've kind of been debating doing a name change for a while, just because I'm like, Emily Reads. I made it because I was like, I'm not sure what to name it, my channel, and so let's just do Emily Reads. So then I did then just kind of talking about potentially changing it. Um, and did a community post and someone made some suggestions. Rich was really good with some good suggestions. Rich is someone I met on Victoria over the Musical Bookworms Discord, and he has been super kind in commenting and engaging in like what reading my reading through Oathbringer and Rhythm of War. So he came up with some good suggestions for me, and then I was like, epics. Let's do Emily's Excellent Epics. So here's the reasoning behind the name change. Um, One, I just wanted something a little bit more fun, and two, just kind of in the circles that I run in on BookTube, it's kind of the running joke of like, oh, a 300-page book. Why, that's a novella for Emily. So I wanted a play on like, yes, I like my chonky fantasy. So I needed something for that. And then I liked Excellent Epics because it reminded me of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. Yes, I'm a product of the 80s and 90s. So hence Emily's Excellent Epics. And I feel like epics could count for anything, an epic adventure, an epic fantasy, an epic classic, even just like a 300-page book can still be epic if it takes you on a wonderful, fun filled journey. So that's the reason behind the name change and why I selected what I did. But I'm here for a mid month wrap up. And I normally don't do mid month wrap ups, but it's March 16th, and I've already finished one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 books. And next week, I have off for spring break. And since it's March Mystery Madness and middle grade March, I haven't been reading big, chunky books. Although I say that, and like 3 books are kind of chunky. But the rest of my TBR is, well, I do have another chunky book planned for spring break. But I plan on mainly reading now just more lighter middle grade mystery books. So I figured I probably would read more books. And so I need to do a mid-month wrap up so that way my month-long wrap up is not an hour long. So let's go ahead and get started. First up, I read The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. And if you know this series, this is like the prequels to the Throne of Glass series. But you don't want to read this if you're new to Throne of Glass, which I am. I don't really think reading this first is the good idea. I think either reading it as book 3 or book 4, which I read it as book 4, is the better plan because you get more emotional impact. So this is a series of 5 novellas, and what happens in the first novella impacts everything through all of the novellas, and you get a much bigger story arc. Um, so this follows Selena as she's a young assassin, and you really get her backstory in how she became assassin. And she mentions some of these events that happened in these prequel novellas. She mentions these, like they're sprinkled throughout Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight and Heir of Fire. But you don't really know you don't know the full story. And so now we're getting the full story. And it's wild. The relationship between her and the man who was her assassin trainer, it's very emotionally complicated, and that's the best way that I can describe it. Um, and so I really enjoyed this. I would give this like 4.5, 5 stars. simply because, and granted, like, there were some novellas I was like, eh, but overall, like, the implications for this is why I give it so high. And some people are like, oh, Sam Cortland, he doesn't really add much, but it's like, I really liked Sam Cortland. I did. So there's that. Then I read The Secret of the Old Mill by Franklin W. Dixon. This is book 3 in the Hardy Boys series. Um, so the reason why I've read this middle grade mystery, they both work, and then also for the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do, which I'm not going to complete it, but I want to see how much of it I can do. I know that there's no way that I can complete it, but again, I just want to see how much I can do. This is a book that I picked up at like a estate sale when one of the prompts is 3 books that you picked up at garage sales. So this is just Frank and Joe Hardy. I don't know what the brothers' names are. I can't even remember. Joe, Frank, what's their father's name? Yeah, Frank and Joe Hardy. They are trying to solve this mystery, and like all their books do. But this is like the problem with this is I read this so quickly. So it's this counterfeit money ring, and then there's also this secret at this old mill, what's going on there. And like their father is involved and getting like kind of threats of like stop solving the case. I mean, it was cute, it was enjoyable. Clearly it was not very memorable, but it was what I needed at the time. I feel bad. Did I enjoy it? Yes. It added points for Realmathon too. Go Team Stingers. The next book I read was Keeper of the Lost Cities Unlocked. So this is book 8.5. So what we get in this book, it kind of takes us out of the story, and we get a lot of backstory information. It's kind of like, oh, these are secret files. So you get information about like Sophie, and you see like Elwyn's case notes on her every time she goes to the healing center to be healed. You get information about all the different counselors. You get information on all the different species in the world, things about Foxfire. So that was really interesting. Oh, you get like Keith. You get like notes on like all of the detentions that Keith, like all of the pranks that he's played at Foxfire, and all like why he's had to serve the detentions. You get that from the principal of the school. And then you also get a novella. And in this novella, it's told from Sophie's point of view and Keith's point of view. And what's happening with Keith is fascinating. Like, I really cannot wait to jump into book 9. So I need to figure out when I'm going to read book 9. But I'm looking forward to it. I am very much Team Keith all the way. So I really enjoyed this. I would give this 4.5, maybe 5. Well, 4.5. Nah, maybe 4. It's hard because like there's like backstory information, so I probably would give that like a 4 maybe, because like there are times where I was like, this is kind of dragging. The novella bumps up the rating, so I almost feel like I have to give it 2 different ratings. Then I read Cheddar Off Dead by Karina Moss, and this is because this is kind of like the group read for Tiffany's over at Killing Time with Cozies for March Mystery Madness. And Cheddar Off Dead is book 1 in the Cheese Shop Murder Mysteries. And I was supposed to do a book buying ban. That did not happen. I've already bought, I already ordered this off of Pango Books. I did use Pango Books that I have, but then I also bought 2 books at Barnes & Noble because it was triple rewards points. So I was like, all right, I worked a game. I will use that money. At any rate, so my book buying ban did not work. This is the first book in the Cheese Shop Mystery, and in it we follow Willow Bauer, and she's opening this cheese shop in like a small town in Sonoma Valley. and she's trying to get it off of the ground. And so she hosts like a cheese making event at her store, and she's expecting this reviewer to come in and see her. And as he does, and he's known for like giving really bad reviews. So he comes in, sees her, it's known she's going to get a bad review, and then he winds up found dead in his car with a knife from her cheese shop in his neck. So who committed the murder? Of course, she's a prime suspect. Of course, she has to investigate it. I did enjoy this. It almost sounded like there was going to be a love triangle. There's not, fortunately. There is kind of hints of a potential love interest. I'm looking forward to that play out. And I really loved how she took out the murderer. Like, it was absolutely hysterical. So that's why I'm looking forward to book two. I also loved, like, I love cheese. Like, I love cheese so much. Like, I only buy cheese slices for, like, to put on my sandwich. I can't really buy cheese otherwise because I will eat it. And so I loved all the different things about the different cheeses, and it just made me wish I had this cheese shop in my town, but also really glad I didn't have it because I would spend so much money there, and it was delightful. The next book, I finished Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson, book 4 of the Stormlight Archives, and Sanderson does mental health rep so well. It's a little hard to read. Like, I will say this. I would give this 4.5 stars, easy, easy. I knocked off half a star because there are portions where it does get a little technical. I was expecting it to be like just dry and dull and awful technical, and it wasn't. Like, did the technical stuff go over my head? Yep, it did. But here's the thing, there's some people who are like, oh, well, this person is connected to this person, and this person is connected to this person in the Cosmere. And I'm like, I don't know how you could keep all that straight. There are times where I try to keep it straight, but I don't keep it all straight. So so I did knock it for half a star for some of the technical stuff. But I will say this, like, if you struggle with your mental health, there are some scenes in here that are brutally hard. Like, I was in a good headspace when I read it, when I read a certain scene, and I was like, oh, like, this character is not holding back. It was rough because it was exactly what, like, he was speaking exactly what I feel about myself when I am struggling with my depression. So, so just keep that in mind. You might need to, if you are someone who struggles with mental health challenges, you might need to make sure that you are in a good mental space, or take breaks as you read it. I loved the character progression. I love Adolin, and I loved his character progression. Um, I love Shallan. I loved some things that happened with her. Kaladin, oh my gosh, good stuff happened. It was good. Um, I want more Renarin. I want to see more what's going to happen with him. I think he is going to be playing a bigger part in Wind and Truth. Navani, what happened with Navani, I predicted. I was very proud of myself. Like, yes, I got that right. Yeah, if you're not familiar with the Stormlight Archives, we follow um we follow a cast of characters. They are the Alethi, and they are at war with the Parshendi following an assassination of their king by the Parshendi. And we learn why throughout the entirety of the Stormlight Archives, of like, what started this war between the two groups of people. And there are these heralds that were sworn to protect humanity against Odium, who is kind of a god. And the heralds they were also Radiants, who were also sworn to protect the people against evil. And the Radiants gave up their oaths hundreds of years earlier, and that started a chain of events. And now the Radiants are kind of coming back, and what's going to happen? So yeah, I am looking forward to Wind and Truth. I'm not quite sure when I'm going to read it. I need to read The Secret History and read The Lost Metal, because as Brandon Sanderson has published more and more, like the Cosmere is now beginning to like bleed over into other books. So like it's all interconnected. Like Mistborn is now like we're seeing connections to Rhythm of War, and Warbreaker we see connections, and Elantris there are some connections. And I was told like I need to finish Mistborn Era 2, but I was told that you have to read Rhythm of War before you read The Lost Metal, and then I could read Wind and Truth. So Lost Metal might be an April book. Wind and Truth I don't think will be a May book, simply because May is the end of the year, and there's a lot going on in May. I've got exit meetings for students with IEPs that are graduating, and I've got like 4 IEPs, I think. It's a lot. So I don't want to put a big, massive epic. We'll see. Then I read a short book, and that is The Wood at Midwinter by Susanna Clarke. This is actually the first book I've read by her. This is another reason why I'm doing a mid-month wrap-up, because I checked it out of the library, and it's a 14-day loan. Look how beautiful this cover is. The illustrator is, let me see. Oh, the illustrator, it says featuring gorgeous illustrations and an afterword by Susanna Clarke. So she did the illustrations too? So Susanna Clarke did the illustrations. The cover illustrator is Victoria Sawden. Okay. But like the let me see if I can find a picture in here. Like, there are beautiful pictures throughout the book. And so in this, we follow Meredith Scott, and she can talk to animals and trees. And one evening she's in the woods, and she talks about with her dog and her pig, and she talks about how the fact that she would love to just be a mother. And in walks this strange figure and gives her a baby to take care of. And that baby is a bear. And sorry, that was spoilery. Well, it's only 51 pages, folks. I'm so sorry. So it's just beautiful. It's supposedly set in the world of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which I have not read, so I don't know. But what I loved about, one, the beautiful illustrations, and then it was also very clearly like, because they talk about the virgin having a child. There's a virgin who has a child, and very clearly like this could be read during Christmas time. And so I don't know if I would be willing to spend like this. If I were to buy this would be $17. I don't think I could justify $17. But like this is something that like if I can find on Pingo or something, for sure I would have this in my library and read it at the wintertime again. And last but not least, I read Prairie Lotus by Linda Sue Park. This is the Patreon book club pick for Krista's over at Books and Jams book club. And this is the story of Hannah and her father. They travel from Los Angeles out to La Forge, South Dakota. And Hannah is half white and a quarter Korean and a quarter Chinese. Her mother was half Chinese, half Korean. And so they travel out to La Forge, South Dakota in the late 1800s. And she wants to go to school, and her father wants to set up a dress goods store. And um, this deals with the racism that she feels and how people treat her and the racism that Native Americans experienced and how people treat them. And Linda Sue Park and her afterward commented, like, she grew up loving Laura Ingalls Wilder, but had to contend with the fact that, and we all have to contend with the fact that, like, there's definitely racism in Little House on the Prairie. And so she wanted to write a story that reflected how that racism really impacted people, and that it wasn't, Little House on the Prairie has like kind of more of like a nostalgic, it feels good, but there are those hints of racism that aren't good. That's not good. And so she wanted a better picture of like, here's what it was like for people. Really. 5 stars. It was a good read. I think it's an important read. I think people should read it. I think students should read it. So I liked it. Now, please hear this. I grew up and I still love Little House on the Prairie, but I think, we do need to contend with the fact that it does portray as one side of history and not a complete picture of what was happening at that time. Yeah. So I was excited to read this. This also is a library book. So I do need to return that eventually. And that is all I have read so far for the month of March. So right now, my stats say that I've read 3,000 pages in March, but that's only because I count the pages on a book when I finish the book. So, like, if we get rid of 1,000 of those pages, I've already read like 2,000 pages, which is about how much I've been reading in a month so far. So that's incredible. What I'm reading now, I still need to read The Last Contista. That is for a virtual book club that I'm part of. I'm halfway through Everyone on This Train is a Suspect. I still need to read The Berry Pickers. I need to read Kingdom of Claw, which is book 2. And the I don't remember the series title, but the first book was The Road of Bones. So I've got plenty on my hands to read. So, at any rate, have you read any of these books? What are your thoughts on any of the books that I've read? What have you read so far in March that you have found delightful? And I'm already going, because of the books that I've read this month, I'm like, oh my gosh, my April TBR is already filling up super fast because I want to continue on with the series that I've started. So April's going to be interesting. Talk to you later. Bye.